Welcome back to Everyday Garage, guys, and in this video we finish up a little bit of the welding, just a little bit that we needed to get out of the way from the bottom of the cab, and we go ahead and, well, actually I'll let him show you. Well, that sucker's over there doing all the fun work. I'm over here getting the paint ready. That's right, guys, we're finally gonna lay some paint on this cab, and I cannot tell you how excited I am. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, to start this off, we already have the cab up in the air. I'm so excited for today, guys. We are going to be getting a lot done in this video and finally have paint on this cab. I cannot tell you how excited I am. Now, here is underneath. It looks so much better than the rusted out situation that it was. But I do want to do a little bit more welding before we get to painting, and that's mainly because you see my weld lines here. Definitely not quite the penetration I would have liked. I was still learning how to weld stuff. Definitely not like how my cab corners turned out. You see, you can definitely see all the penetration in there, and that's kind of what you want to expect. So I'm going to come through and I'm going to weld a little bit of it up, make sure it's nice and strong and clean. I'm not going to go too crazy, just want to make sure the structure's there. I got a little bit of welding I want to get in here. I need to weld up this. Basically, lots of odds and ends that need to get done before we can lay a little bit of paint. So let me go ahead and knock that out, guys. I'm not going to bore you with all of the, everything that goes on under there that I'm going to be doing. And then we'll get to sanding it down and spraying some epoxy primer. You see the smile on my face? This is a big moment for me. All right, guys, let's get this done. All right, guys, I have it all cleaned up. So I went ahead and welded up some pinholes on the firewall, some pinholes over there, just to make sure it was nice and sealed up. And then up underneath. So like I said, I wanted to weld up the seams just to make sure I had good penetration, and we're pretty good. I'm not going to metal finish this, guys. It's gonna get some bed liner on it and everything after the epoxy, so it doesn't really matter. I went ahead and finished up a little bit of the rocker. The rocker we probably will seam seal from this side. I got these little areas done. I just want to make sure it was nice and strong. And no one's going to see this. If you're up underneath my cab looking at the bottom, there's probably more issues going on than whether that's pretty or not. Now, real quick, I wanted to talk about the penetration I was talking about. And I know that a lot of people that watch this channel that are actually working on this similar truck, but also that are beginners like me. And so this may help, a little tip, basically learn from my mistakes. This is what I mean by penetration, guys. You come in here and you want to see the weld come through the seam. That lets you know that you have good penetration, which means you have a good weld. That's going to be very strong. So that's what you want to be looking for. You want to be able to see your weld on the other side. And again, over here, on the cab corner. I mean, not that I have the right to teach anyone on welding, but, one beginner to another kind of thing, Just, this is what I've learned. So you don't have to, do everything, 2-3 times like I do on this channel. It's never the one time. It's, let's do it 2 or 3 times just to make sure. Now, this is, before I start sanding and getting this ready for paint, we have one last bit of rust repair, and that is going to be right here. So this is our trans pan or trans tunnel pan. So it's pretty bad here, guys, as you can see. Now, I thought about maybe just trying to weld up the holes and then grinding it smooth, but this is really eating away, and it's just super thin. So I pulled out some more of the patch panels, and what I think I'm going to do is use this piece right here. It's got a little lip here because, as you can see, there's a little bit of a lip on this panel. So if I cut this out right here and then just patch it in, we should be good to go. And then we can just start cleaning up everything, like this already has surface rust and stuff on it. And then clean up the firewall, clean up underneath, and start laying some epoxy. All right, there we go. Stop. Over there. All right, there we go. And that's what I meant by the little lip. And then we can manipulate that once it's actually on the panel. All right. Done. And there it is, all nicely cut out, all rust-free again. And what I really like about using this panel, because it has the crease here already, I can literally just lock the crease in up against the lip that's already there, and it fits perfectly. And then just scribe it. So Oh, don't move on me, come on. There we go. And that should be all we need. Actually, let me make sure we're good. And there we go. So we have our scrub line, just cut that out and we should be good to go. It's all cleaned up a little bit just to get the metal shavings off. And it's actually fitting pretty good. Not perfect, but it's a little too big, which is a good problem to have. I just need to shave it along here, and all I'm gonna do is hit it with the Roll-Lock. So let me go ahead and get it cleaned up, do a little back and forth, and we'll see where we can get this thing. And it came out not too shabby, fits up pretty solid. And obviously I already cleaned up the metal, so we are good to go and start welding it in. And there it is. Didn't come out too bad, guys. It is definitely not perfect, but you know, better than a bunch of holes. Actually, probably should have just welded those holes up. But looks good. And then you saw me welding up the backside. I kind of wanted to metal finish it a little bit just so, you know, if anyone takes this off later, it just doesn't look all ugly underneath, you know. This actually is removable, so I want it to look good. Last thing we got to do though, guys, we got to come over here and knock this edge back and then slice it, make it look a little better. All right, back over at Big Red, all I'm gonna do is, see if you guys can see this, is bring the edge and kind of tuck it and see if I can just tap it. Should be, actually move this out a little bit. See if I can get it to ride right on the edge of that. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty on par with where it is. We'll just come over here, get a line between the two. Come on. There we go. Just cut along that line and that should kind of match the edge there. I am knocking everything over. All right, guys, that is the finished product. You know, not too shabby for a guy who's still figuring stuff out. I'll take it. Not bad at all. Last but not least, let's mark that hole and get that drilled out. All right, so it should be 7.5 inches over, which from the middle, which is roughly there. All right, and that puts the hole. It definitely is too close to the edge. I somehow got that off. But I don't think it's gonna make that big of a difference. It's pretty on point with the distance between, so let me go check it in the cab. Well, I did go check it in the cab and that hole is just fine, so we should be good to go. That's a solid little repair, and I definitely want to take a little bit more time with this one because this transpan is not replaceable. You can buy transpans for this truck or for the 1953 truck, but not for the Hydromatic. So this is special because of this. So I definitely wanted to make sure it was a solid repair. So we got that checked up and we're good to go. Now to jump over and start doing some sanding. Just a little bit of prep work before we can paint, and then we should be able to lay it down. Now I know that sandblasting usually leaves a good surface to paint on, but remember guys, the sandblasters left a lot of spots, and we're going to be priming the firewall too, so I definitely want to come through and knock all those little spots out, and then everything underneath here. And so we'll go through, get it sanded up, start getting it ready for paint. But first, I forgot that we need to get all the sand out of here. There's like a entire playground of sand in this thing. So let's bring the cab back down because the cab corners are absolutely full of it. And by sand, I mean, you know, it's just chock full. But that's typical with sandblasting, guys. It's no big deal. We'll go ahead and vacuum all this out, get this all blown out so it's, you know, ready to be painted. Hold on. All right, that should generally get us where we need to be. That was a lot of sand. And that is definitely gonna somehow get into my paint, I already know. I just wanted to get a lot of the big stuff, especially out of the cab. You saw, you know, the big pockets that were kind of going on. Now with this already kind of down, since we brought it down, let's go ahead and hit the whole firewall with the DA and get it kind of scuffed up and ready to go. And fix all the stuff that the sandblaster missed. Oh man, guys, I seriously underestimated how much work that was gonna be. That was probably just a little seconds for you, but that was 2-3 hours of grinding and sanding. But man, does it come out. I am super happy with it. It is so cool to see this in bare metal, guys. Firewall looks a lot better. All the little spots are cleaned up. And then up underneath was a lot more difficult, but I got mostly everything. Back over there is all ground out. Over here on the rockers, nice and sanded. Now, I didn't get every nook and cranny with the sanding. I got as best I could. Underneath was really hard just because of all of the different shapes. But the thing about sandblasting is it does etch the metal or, you know, give it a rough enough surface for the paint to adhere to. So we should be good. But look what I found, guys. So first, this is what the cab support's supposed to look like. And this is what this one looks like. Looks like the sandblasters, maybe a forklift or something, just bent out my, my rear cab support. Now, instead of getting to paint, let's try to see if we can get that bent out, because even though that part actually doesn't support the cab itself, it actually bolts up inside. That's where the strength it gets it from. I think I'm just gonna try to use a crusher wrench to bend it out. Bends the edge a little bit, I can just hammer the edge back. There it is. Actually snapped back a lot easier than I thought it would. All right, let's see what we can do. Will that fit? Oh, that fits, doesn't it? Yeah, but I can't get a good throw because of it, huh? Come on. Having a good time, guys. Move your thumb, Jason. Move your thumb. Oh yeah, I'm bleeding. I hit that thing hard. Dang it. Blood, sweat, and tears, guys. Blood, sweat, and tears. If I just grab the lip by itself. Oh yeah. Oh, so much simpler. You know, we'll call that good. Well, with that fixed, we are ready to go. That cab is about as prepped as I'm gonna get it. We still have to wax and grease, remove and all that, but I'm not sanding anymore. That is just gonna be what it is. And I came over here and already got this all cleaned up. Needs a little bit more actually, but it looks good for the most part. The last thing that I need to clean up over in this pile of nonsense is the battery tray, but we'll get that done later. There's only so much sanding and prepping that I'm even gonna show you guys. I'm just gonna end up boring you is what I'm trying to say. So let me finish prepping everything. I'll get everything taped off plastic, and when I'm finally ready to lay some paint, I'll bring you guys back. Well, a lot of work later, guys, and the kill room is set up. Basically, if I need to hide the evidence of some things that might have happened, I'm ready to go, if you know what I mean. Now, the cab is fully cleaned and ready to go. Man, I'm so excited. Let me bring you guys in. This is all cleaned and sanded like I already showed you. Up underneath is beautifully straightened out. And what I want to show you is this, guys. This is all of the towels that I just used, all microfiber. Look how dirty they are. This is all from wiping down this cab. Now, this has all been wax and grease removed, but it looked clean before, especially on video. It looked even better than it does in person. But man, see how dirty it is. Make sure you clean your surfaces, guys. That's super important. Ended up using like almost an entire bottle of this. I ended up having to refill it. Just one of those things that really helps make sure that your paint lays well. Paint prep is super important, guys. Now, with that set up and ready to go, let's go ahead and mix up some paint and finally lay it on this cab. This is a huge milestone for me and this project. Let's get started, guys. I've got the paint already mixed up and ready to go in the gun, guys. And if you're new to the channel, I have been using SPI epoxy, and that's what we're gonna use for the entire cab and the painting of this. So SPI epoxy, black is going down, mix 1-to-1 for a nice solid seal on this. So I'm all ready to go. Let's get started, guys. And just like that, it is the next day. I had to go into work after I sprayed that, so we're 12-hour nights, so it's been about 15 hours. It's been sitting there drying. It's dry to the touch. Man, does it look good. Let me show you guys. I'm really happy with the way that this came out. I got great coverage. Little to no issues with it. And man, does underneath look so much better. Better than that rusted out cab I had underneath here. And over here, you can see a little bit of that metalwork. I'm not too happy with this, guys. I was thinking about body working, but honestly, I'm probably just gonna leave it. We'll hit it with satin black. That's gonna be the finish on it. And then honestly, it's gonna get a bunch of stuff that covers it. I don't wanna go too crazy on the firewall, mainly because this, like I said, it's gonna be a work style truck. It's gonna be a driver. I just don't want to get too crazy. I wanna get this on the road. But I am really happy. This came out really good. This is where the floor patch was. You can barely tell. The only area, I got a little bit of a run here. So I do need to kind of wet sand that out before we top coat it, because I'm gonna put that 2K chassis black on it. And then in there is really good. Now, even though, like I just showed you, the firewall isn't perfect, we're gonna leave it. Again, it's gonna get overflow tank right there, everything like that. I also just wanna mainly show that because, again, guys, if you're in here doing it in the garage, maybe the first time you're trying this out, not everything's gonna be perfect, and you gotta weigh it out, how hard you wanna try at it. Don't worry, the rest of the body, the stuff that's gonna be out there, I'm definitely gonna do my best, my absolute best to make sure it looks a lot better, but that's underneath the hood. We're not gonna worry about it. What we need to do now is do some seam sealing. Now for seam sealer, I have 3M's kind of two-stage, that's what I'm trying to say, two-stage epoxy seam sealer. I kind of picked it up a bit expensive. I'm not sure if I'd go this route again. I picked this up a while ago, but this is what I have. And what I want to do is kind of come in here and seal this up. Let me bring you in, guys. So you can kind of see this line, the black kind of blends all together. This line here is where this inner cowl, or this cowl piece meets this inner cowl. Now this is where it always rusts out in this cab, and that's because it's got these ridges. There we go. It's a two-part. And we'll see what we can do. I'm gonna come along here and just really feel the voids. go. See, that's just kind of goobered in right there. Something like that. So something like that, guys. I just really want to get the cab sealed up. I'm going to do the back of the rockers where I welded. I'm not going to do the floors. We'll go ahead and get that from the top. We'll just kind of seal everything up. Now, it's really hard to film under here, so let me just bounce around, get it all knocked out. I'll come back to you guys. We are all seam sealed up, and as you can see, I have already taped it off because we are gonna undercoat from underneath. So the cab is officially ready. Now, this is obviously left exposed because I'm actually just going to mainly focus on undercoating underneath, but I have some left over. I might as well do the wheel well area. That's gonna get done at some point anyway, so if I can do it now, might as well. Basically, this truck is coming along. That is not going to rust out underneath anymore. That is my goal. What I will be using is basically Custom Shop's bed liner. It's just a 2K urethane bed liner. It's supposed to be really good stuff. Hopefully it is. I've never used this before. I've heard good things about it. It comes like this, and you just drop your gun in it with some hardener, and you're ready to go. So let's go ahead and mix that up. Let's see here. Yep, I'll be high. That's probably shouldn't have done that. And some hardener. Just says toss it in. 1 can to 1 bottle. There we go. And now we shake. So shake for 2 minutes. Now, to shake it up, I have this nifty little thing. Have you guys seen this? This thing is amazing. Hook it to your Sawzall or your cutoff, and it's made for rattle cans. So you just put your rattle can in here and you go, but I figured why not try it on this? Although I'm a little terrified that's gonna pop off. So let's put some tape or something on it. There it is. It's probably not gonna hold anything. And then just hit the button. Whew, that's already coming out. Wow, that sucks. Okay, let's try that again. Let's try that again. Now it's crushed in the bottle. Probably not a good idea. Nope. Well, that would have been a good idea. It sounded good in my head. So let's just sit there and, shake for 2 minutes. This is a workout. I don't think I need to do cardio today. All right, that's done, or I'm done, so that means that's done. Let's go ahead and load this up and spray this on the truck. Just like that, guys, it is the next day. I had to go into work that night and let the paint dry, but here we are. Final product on it. Man, does it look good. The seam sealer has these wheel wells all sealed up, which I link. It looks so good. Gives it a nice, almost factory look to it. Look how that bed liner turned out. Looks like a beautiful undercoating. We got a nice sleek line right here. And it just looks so good. Sealed up rockers. Sealed up the weld line back there. Man, I'm so happy how this turned out, guys. Went from a rusted out bottom to almost looking like a brand new underneath on a truck. That is definitely looking almost better than it probably did rolling off that factory lot. I'm super excited, guys. I love seeing finishing touches going on this cab. Now, last thing I need to do is paint the firewall. And what I love about this epoxy, guys, is that you don't need to sand the epoxy. It's good to be top coated for 7 days. It is perfect for us garage guys. If you're in a garage and you can't get everything done in 1 day, you don't have to come back and sand the whole thing again. It will receive top coat in 7 days. Now, what I did do was go ahead and sand up my, my drips, my overspray areas. I got all that kind of stuff done. Just hit it with some 320, cleaned it with wax and grease remover again. So this is ready to go. And now for the firewall, guys, I'm going to be using Eastwood's 2K Chassis Black. So this is supposed to be a urethane ceramic kind of mix. And it's what I used for some of the chassis parts and for the torque tube, and I'm splashing it everywhere. It's also what I'm using for the inner fenders, most of like the core support, all that stuff that I'm gonna end up spraying, it's gonna be this. So this is what we're gonna go with, and I think it's gonna look really good. I like the satin underneath the hood. That way it's not too shiny, covers up any kind of like grease or anything that gets everywhere, but it's still gonna give it a nice look. So let's get this hooked up to the gun and over there and finally spray the last of this, guys. I can't wait to see how this turns out. And just like that, again, it is the next day. Like I was already saying, I was doing this. I was laying paint, going to work, laying paint, going to work. Downside to 12-hour shifts, there's not a lot of time in between to get stuff done. But it is done, the paint is laid, and I'm so excited with how it came out, guys. Here it is. The paint said to lay 2 coats. I ended up laying 3 coats in total, and I just think it came out fantastic, guys. It looks good. The satin really took the sheen off it, which I'm really glad about. I didn't want it to be too shiny. You know, imperfections are, they show a little bit more that way. Over on this side, you can just tell. I ended up having a little bit of runs in here. And of course I did that on the last coat. First 2 were perfect. And the last one was like, let's do a 3rd coat just because I have some paint left over. And of course I got some run. But what I already did was I went ahead and sanded it back with 320. And then after that, guys, I went ahead and just hit it with my touch-up gun. A small little gun, was able to get in the area and make it look really good. And of course, there's still this little imperfect area. We talked about it earlier. I thought a lot about it. I even really did think about body working it, but so much is gonna cover that. And again, an overflow tank, you're never gonna see it. The AC is gonna be mounted up there. So there's no really reason to just try to fix that. And it's just a firewall. Plus there's a lot of imperfections throughout that thing. And I need to try to save time where I can. Definitely the outside of the body, I'm gonna try to make as perfect as possible, but that's gonna be just fine, guys. So there it is, firewall done, underneath done. I am so excited. And I know some of you are probably thinking, hey Jason, you're jumping way too far ahead. There's still so much body work to do. Why is there finished paint on here? Because guys, what's gonna end up happening is this is gonna come down and get bolted down and I'm gonna leave it there permanently. So I wouldn't have access to a lot of that because of all of this, obviously. And what also, I haven't really decided what I wanna do, whether I'm going to blend all of this in up here, where I'm gonna stop. Like, I don't know if I'm going to just leave the black here and then end up having this be body color, or I'll have the body color start here, or even bring it back all the way to here. But I'll be able to still paint with it bolted down here. I just wanted to make sure I got the bulk of it. I've actually really been thinking that I'm gonna bring the black up to here, cut it over, and then run it along this line and the rest be body color. That's kind of been my thought, but you know, I'm still up in the idea about it, still deciding. Actually, let me know what you guys think. Where should I do it? Where should the black stop? Where should the firewall? Where should the body color? That whole thing go? Because, you know, I'm not really sure yet. I don't know where I'm gonna go with that. And I have a couple weeks to decide, but that's kind of my thought process. But that's why I did it. The downside to having, like, you know, painting in a garage, guys, not having a booth, not having room, is you have to break it up into pieces like this. I don't have the luxury of taking this, putting this on a cart and painting it, because I don't have room for a cart in here. All I have is this chassis. I have nowhere to put this chassis. So that's just what it's gonna be. So that's why I decided and I elected to do it this way. You're definitely always gonna be making compromises when you're painting in a garage, guys, but I still think it's gonna come out really, really good. Just a lot of words to describe what I'm doing, guys. I know it's a bit unorthodox, but I think it's the best way that I could figure out how to get this done properly and in the quickest fashion possible. Now, before we close this video out, guys, let's do a tiny bit of wrenching so it wasn't so boring watching me lay paint. We need to go ahead and get this master cylinder squared away. Now, what I want to do with the master cylinder is I want to re-bleed it because we took it apart. If you haven't seen that video, I'll go put it here. We had to take it off, cut up this bracket, re-weld to get it to fit because it didn't fit anything. But it does fit now. And what's pretty awesome, guys, is if you remember, I was pretty worried about this cab actually fitting over this. I went ahead and already test fitted it. The cab 100% fits with a tiny bit of room. I think I've got maybe 1/4 inch of space, but it is enough. So I'm just gonna pop these lines off real quick and kind of set them off to the side. That way we can get a bleed kit in here and get these bled up. All right, it's in, guys. Man, that just dumped everywhere. Anyway, that was a mess. So it just immediately started dripping out. So I have these lines in here and this just loops back in if you haven't seen this before. And my only plan here, guys, is just to actuate the pedal. I should get all the air out that way. Just like that. You can see a little bit of bubbles coming through, but for the most part, it didn't have much air in it. Just wanted to verify because it would have been a pain to try to do this. This master cylinder is definitely going to be a pain in the butt to take on and off this truck once the cab's fully bolted down. Yeah, I think all the air is out. Just a little bit. All right, let me get these lines hooked back up and we'll be good to go. All right, lines are all reattached. I will go ahead and top this bad boy off. Of course, I picked the one that's hot. It's got this plastic flap over. All right, we're good. Oh, too much. Okay, this is going well. And throw this back on. This is always a pain to get on there. There it is. Now, for the remote reservoir kit, I picked up some of this EPDM rubber hosing. I don't know, it says it's supposed to be brake fluid safe. Hopefully it is. I couldn't really find anything, you know, relatively affordable except this, so I went with, I think it was like 10 bucks for 25 feet. Pop these caps off. Let's not forget some clamps. Get this in here. There we go. Oh, look there. Crank it down. That should be good. I just looped it for now. We'll cut it open later. But what I want to do is, I thought about running it through here, but it's going to chafe on everything through here. So I think I'm going to run it along the frame rail here. Kind of like that. Now it already has a hole here, so I'm just going to put a clamp there, I think, and have it run a little bit like that. Now for the clamps, I'm just using these P-clamps, and I kind of measured it out because I know they're going to be sticking up. You have this bolt here, and then the cab brace makes this kind of up indentation. Should leave me enough room. I mean, should. But if you've watched the channel for a while, it definitely usually does not go well for me. And then it already has a hole here, so that should work just like that. And that checks off the brake system. Came out pretty good. I'm actually really happy with that. I like the way that looks, and I'm pretty sure it'll fit underneath the cab, so we're good to go. I did want to say that I did get this fitting in from the last video. That is all set up and ready to go. And it's just not all fully locked in yet. I still got to pull the bracket and we'll paint that. We'll do out the rest of the stuff. Over here for the torque tube, this is completely sealed up. I did have a little bit of a leak here, but I cranked it and it's not leaking. Well, it wasn't leaking. It's just weeping slightly. Oh, that's where the leak's coming from the threads. So I'm gonna have to pull this and try to reseal the threads, but we'll do that later. The threads, I can figure that out. And over here at the diff, I definitely have diff fluid in it. I know someone asked about it. It's in there, it's ready to go, and that's not leaking. So that is signed off. And that finally closes the door on the brake situation. So I'm super happy to have that done, guys. Super happy to have the cab done. We can't quite bolt it down yet. And that's because I want to get all of this in. Now, this is the bell crank and the transmission shifter, the throttle lever shifter, our emergency brake or parking brake. This is our parking brake bracket we need for the fenders. I want to get all of that painted up and put on before we do it. Yes, I could probably fit it all. I definitely can fit it all in with the cab bolted down, but why do that? Let it sit there, let the paint harden. Let me go ahead and clean all this up and put it in paint, and then we'll bolt it up. Now, I'm not gonna bore you guys with putting that in paint. I've shown you so much, you guys are probably tired of it. Seriously. But, so I'll get that off camera, we'll get that bolted up and taken care of later. But for that, guys, man, I'm just happy with the progress we have. And that's a wrap for the video, guys. I appreciate all the support, and don't forget, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Go check me out there, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Please, guys, I would appreciate it. It's gonna help me grow the channel a lot. And if you have any suggestions, I talk too much, you wanna see more of this, less of that, drop down in the comments and let me know. I don't take it personal. I would love to hear you guys' feedback. And again, guys, if I can do any of this, especially painting a truck, so can you. I'll catch you guys on the next one.